Right, and then they brought in Allen Robinson. So
I really like this too.
Yeah,
I like the Allen
I
Robinson
don't hate it
move.
either.
I think with the wide receivers, like, let's just be honest, outside of Tim Patrick, like DPJ and Allen Robinson, it's really just like last resort. Like I wouldn't be shocked if Donovan Peoples-Jones and Allen Robinson didn't have a yard for the Detroit Lions this season. Like, I would not be shocked. Like, the only way I think it happens is like if there is a significant injury or maybe two to where it's like we have two guys out this week, we have to upgrade one of these guys, or just out of nowhere. Like Allen Robinson has had like 100 yards each of his last like 2 seasons. DPJ had like 70 yards last year. So it's like to me, it's the Tim Patrick one's the most intriguing. I don't even know. Like 2 out of the 3 of these guys probably won't even touch the field potentially for the Lions.
Yeah, and I'm with you, but at the end of the day, that's what they're expected to be. Like if you're at the wide receiver 5, 6, like that's what you're expecting. And these guys, as a wide receiver 6, I think are pretty reliable in that position, just because if to have a guy that's played meaningful snaps. Allen Robinson, one point of his career, was a 1,300 yard wide receiver, hometown guy. Donovan Peoples-Jones, we know what he is. It's not much, but there's worse wide receivers in the league. It is just a weird situation to look at, though. I would have thought a guy like Kyle Pecco was brought back, and you see that. Like even like Nate Sudfeld, I expected to see. Oh, okay, he did get brought back. I didn't see anything about
Kyle Pecco will probably be on the active roster in the next like week.
Yeah, I would hope so. But there's just guys that I would have expected to see come back before Donovan Peoples-Jones. Like I thought, just the way that he kind of carried himself, and it could sound like a bash, but just it really looked like he didn't want to be out there. So when you think about Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, you'd think that'd leave a bad taste in their mouth. So I'm surprised to see him back. Although I like it, just because if we're talking about wide receiver 6, Donovan Peoples-Jones is a very fine wide receiver 6 if you need him to be.
And just a note here, they chose him over Darius Fountain to go to the practice squad.
And Caden Davis, both.
And Caden Davis. I mean, like let that simmer for a second. So obviously they I don't know. I really don't. There's got to be
Kennedy over those two too.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, it might have been a bigger gap than we thought from DPJ to those. Like Caden Davis and like Darius Fountain might have fallen off. Like we were only there for a couple weeks, and then they had a couple weeks after the public was able to see. Darius Fountain must have had a bad week or so, because Tom Kennedy gets brought in before Caden Davis and Darius Fountain. Like that's where I was a little like,
right.
Like, and those guys, I could be wrong. If anyone in the chat knows, like those guys maybe got picked up by a different team, but I haven't seen anything of it. And maybe that's just because I'm only getting Lions alerts, but I don't know. I think more so the DPJ and Allen Robinson thing. It's for me, I think it's like they're vets, and the ceiling for them potentially could be higher. Like if DPJ somehow figures it out over the next month or two, he could end up giving you something, but it's just like you're sitting there just waiting for it to click. You're waiting for it to click. And like Darius Fountain, he was on the practice squad last year. Like, what you have with Darius Fountain at this point now. Like you know it. And same with probably like Caden Davis and stuff. So like Allen Robinson, a new face in here, like maybe Allen Robinson will step up and make a play. Like I think they just put their wide receiver ceiling a lot higher. Honestly, that's what I think.
I think a lot of it has to do as well as like with Tim Patrick insurance. Like obviously he's coming off 2 major injuries. I think he will be able to stay the majority of the season healthy, just because he's been playing wide receiver 4 or 5, not wide receiver 3. And I think watching him in the preseason, he looks pretty damn good. It's hard to tell because he's not going up against there with ones, but he looks healthy. So if something does happen, okay, now you can promote another vet who can play the X spot for the team. So I think that's what they're thinking too, because depth-wise, after Tim Patrick, it's obvious they have nothing on the outside. You can put J-Mo out there, but J-Mo's a guy they're going to be moving around. I think they just want somebody that when they run 12 personnel, when they run 22 personnel, whatever they want to run, they have a guy that we know, okay, in this playbook, in this personnel, he's the guy that's going to be out there. When you saw J-Mo as a rookie, it was mostly when Jamal Williams was in the backfield with Kabinda out there, and they were just running plays, or strictly just running plays. And I think that's what they're kind of looking for with the Tim Patricks of the world.
And I'm trying to, like, the Allen Robinson thing, I was a little surprised. And then you look back, and last year with the Steelers, he played with the Steelers, man. Like, so that was already a disaster. He had a couple hundred yards. Played with the Rams, played 10 games. It was kind of up and down there. He had like a little over 300 yards. And then before that, it was the Bears, and that was kind of the ending of his Bears, the Bears era for him. And then the year prior to that, he had 1,200. Year before they had 1,100. So if you're asking Allen Robinson, he's 31 years old. He's not super old either. I don't really know what happens to guys like Allen Robinson. I know he's from Detroit. Injuries,
he had
and
a foot injury that lingers.
I think it's like injuries and then situations. Like you just get put in you got to think in the NFL, there's always better guys coming into the league. So you start getting pushed out quick.
And that's why it's so hard for consistency, like for guys that have like 10 straight, like Mike Evans, for example, to have like 10, 12 years of just
crazy,
like 1,000 yards. And then you have like Allen Robinson, who was great for like a couple year stretch, and then it's over. I actually like the Allen Robinson move a lot. I do. And Noah Brown signed with the Commanders, so he got his he got some money to go there and play for Jaden Daniels. Yeah, and they were looking for wide receiver help. So I get it. It makes sense. But I don't hate this Allen Robinson addition. He's home. He's local. You don't need him to be Allen Robinson when he was with the Bears. You don't need him to be prime Allen Robinson. You need him to get a couple hundred yards, and he got it last year with the Steelers, dude. With the Steelers in that atrocious offense. So I actually don't like it. I know Tim Patrick is kind of the one everyone's talking about, but I don't mind. Hey, throw Allen Robinson a little. Hey, come on. I think squad.
You have a potential for all three of those guys to like anything could happen. I think the wide receivers outside of TK85, the TK85 might just be like a returner. Like, hey, if we might need someone to come in for this week to return, that might be TK. But the other guys, it's like, hey, if one of those guys ends up breaking out, you're living life there. Like now you have some depth.